Hello, everybody. This is Tyler Person 20. I'm here with feminist Blaise Wilson to talk about feminism. How are you doing?
Yay! Hello!
So, I guess my first question is how long have you been a feminist?
Sorry, I'm being distracted by you in the background. There
Yeah,
we
in the
are.
background, of course. God damn it, echo.
So I actually haven't been a feminist that long. I was actually an anti-feminist for a few years, and I got a bit of a following, and I did a lot of blogging with that. And then some stuff happened, and I became a feminist. And I've been a feminist for probably about nearly 2 years now.
What led you to become an anti-feminist?
Christina Hoff Sommers was really inspirational. I wasn't happy being an anti-feminist. Some legislation was being pushed through by the EU, and I realised that I didn't have to change my beliefs and could be a feminist and could do more good with the label than being an anti-feminist. So like a combination of all that sort of led me to go, I know that the label is toxic, but I can do more good with it than I can as an anti-feminist. Like, people are going to listen more, and I've got more clout and more power. Why not use that against the outcome feminists? So I'm an opportunity feminist. So
can you go into more detail about what is an outcome feminist versus an equality feminist for people?
So you've got outcome feminists and opportunity feminists. So define feminism. What's the dictionary definition of feminism?
Basically, the equality between the sexes.
Okay, define equality.
Basically, equality of outcome and equality of equality of outcome and equality of opportunity.
So, but they're dichotomy. You can't have both. So I define equality as equality of opportunity. So I'm an opportunity feminist, and a lot of intersectional third wave feminists define equality as outcome, also known as Marxism, a lot of the time. And so they look at the outcomes. It's basically how you measure equality. So you can have, so Christina Hoff Sommers is an opportunity feminist, and that's why a lot of outcome feminists hate her, because there is no such thing. Every feminist is an anti-feminist, because there's feminists you're going to disagree with fundamentally, and there's feminists you're going to agree with. So yeah, that's how I explain it.
In other words, you believe that people should be allowed to have the equality of opportunity rather than the equality of outcome.
Yeah, but there are physical differences on average between men and women, and you shouldn't use outcome as a measure, because it's not suitable as a measure of effectiveness.
Right. As far as the whole entire biology, like you mentioned how females and males are biological difference. Like, can you explain why some feminists, I guess you can say the outcome feminists, tend to believe that gender is a social construct?
I have a picture.
Okay.
I'm going to actually do a video about this soon.
Okay.
I'm planning on doing it's in this one.
Do you mind sharing the picture?
I am going to do some screen sharing. Woohoo! This is Blaise's gender theory. Woohoo!
Oh, yay!
I'm not sure this is 100% correct. This is just my thinking and a bit of research and putting it all together. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Excellent. So I believe that gender has 4 layers, and only one of them is a social construct. So I can see how some people say that gender is a social construct, because I think that there is a layer of social construct. I'm waving my hands out, you can't see it. So I do think that there are people who are like, well, gender is a social construct. You can physically dress and change your external appearance, and you will be treated differently. So yeah, there is a social element, a social construct element. But I do believe that there's like the very base, your physical structure, whether you have ovaries or testes, and they are going to produce different hormones. So whether you're predominantly estrogen or testosterone is going to have a different effect. So for example, facial hair is known to be a testosterone driven thing. Exactly. So there's your structure is impacting your hormones, which then impacts your brain chemistry and how your brain is wired, and how you behave as a result. So they have done studies where they were having people transitioning, so they had transgender people, and they monitored their behaviors, and when they took the hormones, they actually discovered that their behavior physically changed as well as having physical changes. So clearly there's a big link between hormones and how you behave, and then how you behave is going to affect, you know, what you want from life, your choices. So things like, on average, your career choices are going to be influenced by that. And then you have the social construct layer on top. Now this, as you can see, it's a scale from left to right. So you're going to have hyper feminine people, you're going to have hyper masculine people, and you can have these people that are kind of in the middle. So you can have someone who's intersex, who, like, literally they have both ovaries and testes, who their estrogen and testosterone is kind of balanced, who show both behaviors from both genders, and socially we don't really know, they'd have to be treated the way they're currently presenting themselves. It's very difficult in our culture has what's the word begin with B, where there's only two of them.
Let's
Okay,
see. It starts with the word B.
Our culture is that one where there's just two of them to pick from. So it's a good idea to present yourself as one or the other. If you are actually purposely trying to present yourself as in the middle, it's going to be difficult, and you've made life more awkward for yourself by not picking one. You can do it if you're happy doing it, but just remember that people are going to struggle with it.
Wait, is it the word binary?
That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, we live in a binary, we live in a world where 99.999999999% of people are binary.
Right.
So, you know, if you want to not be binary, just for crying out loud, pick a gender.
It's kind of funny because, like, I guess some of these people say that the trans people cannot, they could be non-binary, but, like, they say that, like, they cannot have, like, a gender because they're socially conditioned because of that. It's really strange.
So trans people are explained by this. So
Right.
you can have a person, if you see my examples, individual example 1 and individual example A, because I didn't want there to be an A and a B and a 1 and a 2. I didn't want to show favoritism to one or to other. So we've got a 1 and an A.
Right. It's just very strange to say, like, there's a non-binary trans person when they could pick either gender because they actually feel a certain way because they want to be one gender.
No, so I'm talking about the people who, you know, there are some people who are trying to be gender neutral.
Right.
The people who are non-gender, who are purposely trying to be gender neutral. Those are the ones I'm referring to.
Okay.
And I'm not discussing gender fluid people. I'm discussing trans people who definitely try to be either one gender or another.
Okay, all right.
They might go through a phase where they're one on one day and one on another because they're going through that experimental phase, working out where they are working, or they might have a job that they're not comfortable to transition into at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But hormonally and underneath, so that's just their social construct layer that they're addressing by changing clothes and appearance and, you know, putting makeup on or binding their boobs or something. That's the social construct layer.
Right.
But underneath that, if they are, let's have an example, if there's someone born with ovaries but might have more testosterone and then maybe has what would be a male dominated brain, so they feel like they're a man trapped in a woman's body. So you see how these sliding scales, you're not going to be all the way down the thing. You can't draw a straight line all the way down. You can be different parts of the scale all the way up.
Okay. As far as, I guess, common feminist beliefs, like, do you buy in some of the more mainstream feminist beliefs? For example, what do you think about patriarchy?
Oh, I've got an interesting. Oh, have you finished with this?
Okay.
Shall I put this away? Let's put that away. Okay, so on my website, I have a very interesting hypothesis about patriarchy called "Patriarchy is Love."
Okay. Can't wait to see it.
So it's on there already. You can go and read it whenever you fancy. So this is basically that if there was an apocalypse and you needed, and then the human race was suddenly reduced right down to a very small number of people, and we physically needed to build up the population, but there's only enough resources to sustain so many people. What ratio of male to female would you prefer? Would you like more men, or would you like more women? That's personal preference. I'm thinking literally in order to repopulate the planet.
Right, like I would think more people,
Of course
more.
I want women because I want more women for me.
Yeah, I think more people want to have more males to lead the populations because of the hunter-gatherer kind of thing. So probably more males.
Okay, so if you had a resource-filled place, but even then, how many babies can a man have in the same time that a woman can have?
None. Like they basically need to reproduce in order to have the babies.
Yeah, but how? So in 9 months, when a woman can have a child, how many children can a man have?
They could probably have as many kids as they want. Like as long
As
as they
many as there
continue
are
to.
women available.
Yeah.
Now swap that around. If you have one woman and lots of men, how many babies can be produced in the 9 months time?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one more time?
So before we had lots of women and one man,
Mm-hmm.
and we could have as many babies as there were women.
Okay.
Now we're going to have one woman and lots of men. How many
Oh.
babies can we produce in 9 months?
Oh my goodness. Like they probably would have as many babies
So
possible.
how many babies in a 9 month period can a woman have?
Like they could probably have one baby, they could probably have twins.
Yeah. So
Instead
so
of,
you're looking at one gestation period.
yeah.
So you can have, maybe if they're lucky they might get triplets, but chances are
Right.
for every 9 month period you're going to have one, on average, one baby.
Hmm.
So you're trying to repopulate the planet as fast as possible. If you have lots of women and one man, you can repopulate much, much quicker than if you had lots of men and one woman.
Right, because with more women you can have more babies compared to just
in the
one
same
woman.
in the same time period.
Yeah.
So women are the limiting factor in reproduction. That makes them scarce. That makes them a more valuable resource. Sorry.
But
This is where gynocentrism comes from in society. This is where patriarchy comes from, because you want the women to be protected at home, looked after, because you don't want your women to get killed.
right, like you need to have as many women as possible. You could just
Yeah.
have a few guys and a lot of women that could still have your babies.
Yeah. Thus, patriarchy springs up because we need to protect the women's.
Right. As far as the UK, do you think the UK is a patriarchy?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, why not?
Because women in the UK have all the same opportunities as men do. However, women are still treated as children. So I believe in equal rights, equal responsibility. We currently have a massive issue where women, for the same crime, women get a lesser sentence. The UK legal definition of rape excludes female perpetrators. It focuses on penile penetration. Women can't even rape in the UK. A woman could tie you down and jump on you, and you can scream no, 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 and you can make it very, very clear you have not consented, and that is not rape. That is sexual assault.
That's kind of
Um,
strange because we had the exact same kind of law in the United States. Like in the United States, the FBI definition of rape is actually made to penetrate. So
yeah,
basically, women could get away with raping men if they want to in the States.
yeah. And it's a different thing. It's called different. The victims aren't equally recognized. They're not going to get the same support. And what is this teaching women? It's teaching women that their actions are not equal to men's, that their actions are not taken equally as seriously as men. It teaches society women have less responsibility. It teaches society that women are less than men. Until women have equal responsibility to men, we will not be equal, and you will be encouraging discrimination against women. Every time you treat women like children and you give them extra powers, extra bonuses, extra, oh, we must save the women's and we must protect the women's, and you give them above and beyond resources and help than men, you are creating where a situation where men are going to start to feel like they're not being appreciated, and they're going to be very resentful towards women. You are, by only focusing on women, you are creating misogyny.
Right. As far as I guess societal is concerned, like of course you say that the UK as a whole is not a patriarchy, but what about like certain subcultures, like I guess maybe religious tradition? Would you consider that patriarchal?
Oh, yes. So there are some cultures where they stop women from having choice. In the UK, I can choose to wear headgear. I could choose to wear a full body thing if I wanted to. I can choose what to wear when I wear it. To the same as men. Like if I went out naked, I'd get arrested, as a guy would.
Right.
So I do. There are cultures that do have a genuine. They go too far with the patriarchy and they stop women from having choice. In those countries, there is not equality. There is not equality of opportunity. Women are very restricted, and I do think that's wrong. And I do think that those countries definitely need feminism more so than we do in the US and the UK. But that we have things to do, and I'm not comfortable walking into other countries and telling them how they should be doing things, but I am willing to support. So, for example, Islamic feminism. I noticed you had a video on
But
that
yeah,
on
it's like an
Islam, and I
oxymoron.
did
Yeah.
watch one, and I disagree.
Oh, yeah.
I totally agreed with everything in that video about Sharia law, but I disagree with the premise that there's no such thing as Islamic feminism. So when I was doing my research on all the different types of feminism, and oh my God, do you have any idea how many different versions of feminism there are?
Let's see. There's libertarian feminism, radical feminism, liberal feminism, intersectional feminism. Anything else?
That's just the mainstream ones that you're more aware of. Oh my God, the history is so diverse. So I went online and I tried to find as many different types of feminism as I could find, so that I can analyze them and work out where we all fit and how. Again, there's a diagram. There's my diagram. I like pictures. Oh, you've gone quiet. Why have you gone quiet? Can you still hear me? I can't hear you. What have I clicked on? Well, anyway, I guess I'll entertain everyone in the meantime. So I have a summary image. Of course, I like pictures.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you again.
I swear,
this one's
like
stuck.
this
I might have to
computer
show you
just
that one
always
later.
freaking screws up somehow.
Right, let's screen share this one.
Okay.
I'm a very visual person. I like pictures. So here we are. This is just the main types of feminism. There's loads and loads and loads and loads as well. But I did this picture to demonstrate, and this is even version 2, so I've had to make changes throughout this. So you've got opportunity feminism, kind of first into second wave, libertarian, liberal, like Christina Hoff Sommers, very much equality of opportunity. And then you start getting into radical socialist intersectional equality of outcome. Gender is influenced by biology versus gender as a social construct. You'll see radical feminism, and you see the timelines. You can actually see how these concepts progressed. So you can go all the way from first wave feminism. Hang on, let me just That's sorry, that's my bedtime.
Of course.
I'm going to ignore it because I don't have work tomorrow. So gender is influenced by. Can you see my mouse?
Yes, again.
Oh yay. Okay, so gender is influenced by biology versus gender as a social construct. So you can see radicals were mixed on this one, and then you've got what they thought the root cause of inequality was. So originally it was laws in society, and in first wave feminism you can see where they were coming from with that. Then radicals like society and institutions, socialism. The socialist feminisms were very much capitalism, and then intersectional believes it's capitalism and language. And then you just got some additional information at the bottom here. So like intersectional includes identity politics as factors of oppression. And like I say, this is just the overarching ones.
Yeah, it seems like
So
the most common,
Islamic
like the
feminism.
the most common feminism seems to be intersectional feminism because,
Oh, definitely.
at least nowadays, anyway.
It is at the moment. It is definitely the dominant one. So in here somewhere, I have. You can see I like pictures.
Yeah, so much pictures.
So in my, you can see all wonderfully cited. I have references. So this is what I discovered Islamic feminism to be. So it is, you know how, and the lady on your video before, she was perfectly right that the different interpretations of Sharia law is cultural, and they're all right. It's just the same as we now define the Bible differently than when it was in the Dark Ages.
Right, like
our culture has moved on. We interpret it differently.
Right, like not every single Middle Eastern country has complete absolute Sharia. Like there are some countries that actually have small ounces of Sharia in it, not complete Sharia.
But also, just within Sharia, there's different interpretations. So there is, as far as I'm aware, there is nothing in the Quran that states you must have your head covered. That there's nothing that says that. It says that it's good to have your head covered, but it actually allows the choice. And so there are some countries.
Yeah, that's like in the Quran, but like for the Hadith, for example, like there's like verses with Muhammad in the Hadith saying that women must cover. So they probably got it from the Hadith, but not every single Muslim follow the Hadith.
Exactly. So it's different interpretations, different people using different books. So depending on what and when you say covered, how do you interpret? Do you mean from head to toe? Do you mean just your hair? Do you mean, do you want to wear gloves?
Right, it's just different interpretation. They're pretty much cultural.
Yeah. So Islamic feminism is addressing the interpretations to try and reduce the patriarchal nature and the inequality in the interpretations of the Quran. So the fact that they can't drive in Saudi Arabia, well, where did that come from? If they can change the interpretation, as has been done throughout things, if you can change the back culture and the belief, then you can get just the same in the Bible. Actually, I haven't read the Quran, but I have read the Bible from cover to cover. And if you did a literal interpretation of that, oh my God, we would be very, very similar to Sharia law.
You could probably look at African countries right now, and it'd probably be close.
The Old Testament is horrific.
Terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
And a lot of the things that come up in Sharia law are like the Sharia law in the Old Testament, I've heard, are very interlinked. They're very similar. So it is down to interpretation what the cultures allow and disallow. But
the whole entire car example, like that's actually much more cultural because Sharia doesn't really call for like not driving because there was no cars back then.
Exactly, but they've interpreted something in it or something from one of these other things that's how it's been interpreted. And so if you Islamic feminists, and I fully support Islamic feminists that try and do this, it's not my culture. I don't understand it. I don't understand the nuances. I don't understand how you change it. I fully support people who are trying to and want to do it. But I physically can't do it myself because I don't understand it.
Like, what if you were to, I guess, read like the Quran and other Islamic texts? Will you still try to, help them out if you understand what it is?
It's not my culture, so I don't understand the nuances. Like even if I read the Quran, just because you've read the Bible doesn't tell you how the UK works. It doesn't tell you about how to get laws changed. It doesn't tell you how our society sees things, or how to, it doesn't explain the culture, and it doesn't explain how to change the people's mindset within that culture. So even if I read the Quran, I still wouldn't have the knowledge and the empowerment to go to Saudi Arabia and tell them how to live their lives and how to interpret their holy books.
Hmm. Right. But let's say for example, like let's move it from like religion to like race. Let's say that you live in, I guess, maybe some sort of upper class status, right? And then you like want to talk about, I guess, poverty and African Americans. Do you think people need to be an African American to understand what it's like to be an African American, or do they have to, not talk about it because they actually have a higher status?
I don't think it's about status. I think that, like, if I'd grown up in Saudi Arabia and I understood things, it's certainly a lot easier. I can see your point. Actually, it is a really good. I hadn't considered it from that perspective.
Right.
So I would say that in that situation, I wouldn't agree with it because there's enough overlap and similarities. Like, we fight the same things. Poverty is poverty regardless of the color of your skin. A lot of the issues that affect a lot of people within our culture are the same regardless of where you're from or where you're born or how, what shade your skin tone is. So you can still understand the cultural influences, you can still address them, and you can still help people. Whether you would understand it, the nuances enough, going and talking to people who are directly affected by this, getting their opinion and asking them what would help them would make a huge difference. Because otherwise, you might be putting things in place that are kind of naive and you're going to make things worse. Government does that a lot.
Right. What do you think about rape culture? And do you think the UK has a rape culture?
I do. I do think that the UK has a very devastating, terrible rape culture against victims of female perpetrators. Victims of female perpetrators are not recognised by law, not offered support, not included in the statistics or any of the reports, and are basically, you can't talk about them. So rape culture, it normalising it, accepting it, joking about it, not including them, not supporting them. Yeah, victims of female perpetrators have a massive rape culture issue.
Right. And what about the prison system? Because I know, like in America, like we have like these sort of jokes where if you go to prison, you get raped. And so I could say that there's a rape culture in prison.
Yes, I would also agree that within prison communities, there is also rape culture, because again, it's normalised, it's accepted. Oh, you're going to go to jail. Oh, here's some lube. Hope you enjoy your soap. You know,
right.
And actually, you see this in a lot of culture. There's a film, I've not seen it myself, but I've heard of it. It's about a guy he's abstaining from sex to get with a girl for a certain length of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's his ex-girlfriend ties him down and rapes him.
Wow.
And this is played for jokes. This is played for a laugh. This is not taking women's sexuality seriously. This is making women's actions a joke. This is disempowering women and not taking them seriously. As well as, that's a victim. That is someone who needs help. That is someone who needs justice. That's not funny. If you gender swapped that would be horrific.
Right. Like, I remember there are some TV shows where like they show stories about like a woman cutting off a guy's penis, and then there were people just laughing at that.
Or like, how many films have you seen on TV where a woman slaps a bloke and everyone laughs and giggles, tee hee hee hee?
Right.
So, even the other day, like I was in the pub with some friends and I overheard some other people talking, and there was one guy at the table who was like, "Oh, do you know what? I got home last night a bit late and my wife chewed my ear off, and I wanted to come out today, and she chewed my ear off again this morning. She gave me a load of tasks to do, and she's really not happy about me going out. So I've got to make it up to her and stuff." And I'm thinking, hang on, if a bloke did this to a woman, that would be abuse. You are stopping your partner from going out. You are controlling their movements. Why is this not abuse? Then another couple on another table, there she was hitting his arm every so often and making it very loudly, oh, he knows his place.
Right, there seemed to be some sort of
You have
yeah. There seems
publicly
to
humiliated this gentleman in front of all of his friends. That's abuse. Why is
right,
women's actions not taken equally seriously as men's?
right. There's a double standard. Like for
Definitely.
example, like we're taught when we're boys that we cannot hit women back if they hit back at you. So they try to soak in
Yeah, I'm
the
sorry.
abuse.
I was like, if a woman hits you, you hit her back. If a woman comes at you with a knife, you defend yourself. Just because she's got boobs, that's no excuse.
Just treat them like equals. Exactly.
Yes, very much so.
But
And
getting
women,
getting back to rape culture, do you think like Islamic culture is like a rape culture?
sorry,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I just
Okay, okay.
didn't
So
hear the
getting back to
question
rape
properly.
culture, like, do you think that Islamic culture is rape culture?
Yes, because in the same way that we have the issue, so all the same, like it's normalized, it's like victims, they can't get help. In fact, the victims are punished. So my understanding of it within that culture is if you're a victim, then you can be put to death yourself and you can be held accountable, because I don't know, reasons you're in the wrong place at the wrong time because you weren't at home or something.
Right.
So yeah, I do think that there are cultures out there who do genuinely have a rape culture, and I don't want to name names and point fingers, but a lot of Muslim countries who focus on Sharia law do seem to have it as an issue more than other countries. I have heard that there are some places who are like Christian focused who also have issues like this as well, because again, they're using older cultural interpretations. So it is about the culture and the interpretations and the help that these people can get.
Right, like I heard that in particular countries, like it's not just the women that are actually affected, but it's also the young boys that are actually affected. Like,
I was about to bring that up as well.
yeah,
You hear a lot of stories where young boys are being horribly abused, and again, they're not considered a factor even in the UK. I mean, wasn't there a story in a European country recently where a young boy was brutally sodomized in a public swimming pool,
wow.
and the guy got off with it because they claimed that the child must have wanted it and they couldn't prove he didn't consent. It's like, this is a child. If that child had been female, there would have been no questions asked. That would have been rape, and that immigrant would not have got away with it. And absolutely disgusting. I'm sorry. Gender is not a reason to sway. So I have this test called the noun swap. So I do put it as a hashtag occasionally. And if you swap the genders and the outcome or the opportunities change, you need to investigate why that is. If there's a genuinely good reason for it, for example, why can't guys get abortions, then, I think that's fair enough. But if there's a change and it's not based on a really good reason, then that's an inequality that needs to be addressed, because men's rights and women's rights are so interlinked. You can't address one without also addressing the other. As I pointed out earlier, if you're giving women rights without giving men rights, you're going to be causing a lot of problems for women. You're going to be creating misogyny.
Speaking of abortion, like, do you think that males should actually have an option to opt out the abortion?
I believe in equal parenting, and I'm with EGFEM, so I have a wonderful website, egalitarian feminism. I think it's egafeminist.blogspot.com. Where's my mouse gone? There's my website. Is that the right way round? It's not backwards or anything?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so there's the website. I'm on Twitter. I'm at EGAFEM, so EGAFEM, and I'm on there as well as Turk Llama. It's disgruntled tech quotes Llama. And on there, I haven't done much on it recently. I've actually been struggling with some personal stuff, so I haven't updated the website for a while. But I'm going to start focusing on the legal definition, the UK legal definition of rape, the domestic abuse and how women's agency isn't taken seriously within it, and equal parenting. Now, in order for equal parenting to work, men must have equal rights as women have. So this includes the ability to walk away, the equivalent of an abortion. They should have equal access to the child where possible. So I heard this story recently. I haven't seen the evidence, I haven't read about it, but someone told me about a gentleman who, they weren't married, she got pregnant, she didn't want it, she didn't want an abortion, so she gave it up for adoption. He said, I'll take it, I'm the father, I'll bring up my child, I'll be a single father. And they refused to let him have it, and they gave the child to a couple.
Wow.
His own child. Can you imagine doing that to a woman? It's like, how is this equality? No. Why are we seeing women as the predominant caregivers? Why do we still live in a world where men and women don't have the same paternity rights? So a woman can have maternity leave and a man doesn't get the same. I think in the UK they can now, they can swap it and they can share it, but in most countries men don't get paternity leave. It's like, I'm sorry, why are women still considered the main caregivers? If you want women to have equality and to not have their careers as impacted, then you need to be giving men equal rights and equal responsibilities so that they can step into that role.
Not to mention that there's also various cases I heard about, like paternity fraud, where the woman actually gets the semen of the male without his consent, and they can still force him to pay for that child.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely disgusting. A guy needs to be able to. Why does a woman have all the rights and none of the responsibilities? And again, like if this was swapped around, so you know, I do think that as men do start taking on more roles, that you're going to start seeing a shift in divorces. So if she's continued her career and he's now the main caregiver, if they divorce, it makes sense for the children to stay with the main caregiver, regardless of gender. Because you can't suddenly expect the main caregiver to pull a career out of their ass and start paying for it.
Speaking about careers, like, what do you think about the wage gap?
Oh, what, you mean the earnings gap?
Okay, earnings gap. Like, do you think it's actually because of sexism? Or...
No, that's my point. You mean the earnings gap. You mean the fact. So, hey, guess what? I've got a picture.
Oh, here we go. More pictures. What?
So I did extensive research on this one. Lots of information. So if you look at the UK gender wage gap in 2013, if you look at full-time work in 2013, men on average worked 10% more hours than women. Oh, look, the full-time wage gap in the UK in 2013 was 10%. There's a massive shock. It's almost like if you work more hours, you take home more money. Oh, yeah. And if you look at the part-time wage gap, women earn more. The only way you get to this 19.7% for that year for the wage gap is if you claim that part-time workers should be earning the same as full-time workers. That for some reason, someone who works an average of 18 hours should be on the same wage and should be on the same take-home money as someone who works 30 hours plus.
Wow.
It's an earnings gap. That's ridiculous. So if you normalized the wage gap by the amount of hours that they work, you would remove the wage gap. There would be no wage gap.
Right. Do you think like people are socialized to pick like different career choices, or it's because of their own personal decision?
It's possible that there's a bit of both nature and nurture in that.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm in STEM. I'm an engineer by trade. I was very, very much supported. In fact, I have so much support that I have 5 different bodies begging me to join their women's network. There's not an equivalent men's network, so I won't join any of them. But they are falling over themselves to help me. How do you think that makes me feel?
Wow, like
I'm like, oh, but I'm so incapable because I have boobs. Please come and help me because I have breasts and a vagina. So I must need more help than the men because reasons. It's like, oh my God. Can we stop giving women special treatment and give the same opportunities to everyone so that we can stop this ridiculous treating women like children and like they're some sort of special case?
Right, like I don't recall anybody ever trying to give that much support for a guy for stem fields. It's almost always
Exactly. Yeah. And they were desperate, absolutely desperate to have me. The fact that I now am considering giving up being an engineer and might go into counselling is beside the point. I'm going to see how that works. I do enjoy my job. I love engineering, but I've got plans and things, so we'll see what happens.
Is it like programming or like what kind of stuff for engineering?
So I'm a systems engineer. I design a system of systems and complex. I specialize in requirements writing.
Okay.
That probably didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So when you go to an airport, you've got the ticketing system, you've got the booking in system, you've got the security system, you've got the retail system, you've got the airport, you know, like the planes coming in, you've got to reload them, you've got the baggage system. You see how individually these are all systems that work individually. If you took them away, they'd still work. If you took the baggage system out of the airport and you set it up the same somewhere else, it would still work. It's a system within itself.
Okay.
You take it and you put it with the baggage, and suddenly it's got to talk to the ticketing system. It needs to know which bags are going to which airplane. It needs to talk to the airplane system. The fuel needs to know when the planes are coming in. It needs to talk to... So all these individual systems and subsystems need to talk to each other, and the interfaces between them get very complicated very quickly. And if you don't design them very carefully, it costs a lot of money to fix it. I'm the person who has to go around and try and find out what all these things need to do to talk to each other, and find out what all these different stakeholders and all these different people with different needs and wants and likes, and they want a red button and they want a blue button and they want it to be square and they want it to be triangular, and you've got to try and work this all out, and it's really fun and interesting and I really like it.
What do you think about intersectionality?
I think it has its merits in theory, but in practice it causes more harm than good. I think that these problems are so complicated that actually you need to deconstruct them to simpler parts and address them, while considering if you address them all individually, just the same as subsystems within the airport, you design them all separately and then you integrate them. So they're working together in tandem, not against each other. But if you try and do that too quick, if you tried to design the baggage system and the ticketing system at the same time and had one system that did both, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to work for anyone. So I do think that you need to be deconstructing, addressing, and then making sure that they work together. So I don't think that in practice intersectionality works, but I do appreciate that, yes, there are going to be people who suffer with different and multiple problems and issues that and everyone does. Everyone's problems and issues are unique to them. All we're doing is just making the pools of problems different and more complicated to address. So, you know, I'm a woman, I'm white, I'm dyslexic, I potentially have Asperger's, I'm getting that checked out. You know, I've got all these different problems and issues and challenges. And they're going to be different from yours. They're going to be different to my next door neighbours. They're going to be different to your next door neighbours. Everyone is unique. We can't solve everyone's problems simultaneously.
Right. As far as like activism, do you think you will work with MRAs and other people to get your job done?
Oh, definitely. I actually had an issue where, so I've been promoting a petition to get the government to address the rape issue, like the legal definition of rape in the UK. And I've spammed and spammed and I've really pushed it. And the first time we had it, we managed to get 20,000 signatures, which meant that the government actually had to respond. And their response was disgusting. It was basically, we don't care about victims. Absolutely horrendous. But when I went looking for the MRA support, because this is, you know, it's a pretty big issue for men, I found like one website that had, I think it was 4 paragraphs. And I'm like, where's the support for this? This is a big issue. I've been really pushing. I dedicated over 100 hours of my personal time doing research, writing articles, making, you know, pictures and getting them out there. And I was just like, look, I can see this is a really big issue for men. Where's the support? And I had a bit of a hissy fit. And so I've got
another picture.
A different screen share.
Okay.
Let's have. It keeps things interesting. You don't want to see my ugly mug all the way through. So we've got. This is egalitarian feminism. This is the EgaFem website. And oh look what we have. So we have an egalitarian community. So this website I was hoping would be picked up by some other people, and I'd be working with them in tandem to get different people interested in the similar message and to work together, because equality, MRAs and feminists, they should be this different perspectives on the same problems. And actually, you can't change something in society without affecting both genders. So we need to listen to both genders and work out how changes are going to affect both of them before we do it. So it's important to see, oh, if we make this change for women, how's that going to impact men, and vice versa. So yeah, I was trying to get more, but I don't even have time to do EgaFem at the moment.
Right, like I don't know that many MRAs in the UK outside of Spinosaurus Ken.
Yeah, so it's not been easy.
Yeah.
So, and like I say, I don't think. Oh, someone's just said that they don't know about the petition. So there is one at the moment, but it's about to run out and it's not going to hit the target. So I'm not gonna share that one anymore. But do follow me on Twitter, and then petitions in the future, I'll be promoting them. Dr. Vander McCann actually did promote the petition. He was really good. He did a little video on it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Dr. Vander McCann. Okay.
Yeah, but basically on my website I did a little rant about it, and I named people who have promoted it and were good, where I saw them. So, but yeah, the support from the MRA, like A Voice for Men, didn't. They spend more time attacking feminism than they do actually helping men, as far as and I've heard that criticism of them, and I really, really, really hoped it wasn't true. And I went through their channel and I had a look, and just looking at the titles, the amount of articles attacking feminism versus the amount of articles that were not, the ratio was scary. Like there was a lot of them blatantly attacking, and perhaps not without criticism. And certainly feminism has a lot to blame. It has done a lot of harm, particularly to men and to women. But I'm not sure how useful and constructive and practical that is, where there's a lot more that we could be doing to actually solving the problems instead of just bitching and moaning about stuff.
Right, like it seemed like in the past, like a lot of the MRA types and the feminist types tend to clash on the college campuses. Like, I'm not sure if you saw the video, but there was this one video where, like, in Toronto, Canada, where there was, like, I guess some sort of MRA speak, and I guess the radical feminists went out their way to protest against that. And so I guess some of the tensions is probably the reason why things are not getting done.
Yeah, and to be fair, yeah, feminism has a lot of idiots in it. MRAs have some idiots in it.
Right.
We're all human beings. You're always going to get idiots. So yeah, but feminists have some legitimate criticisms of MRAs, and MRAs have some legitimate criticisms of feminism, and there's no denying that. When people shut down the other side of the talk, so when feminists shut down MRA talks, I do not agree. I think that is disgusting, and I would not support that at all. I do think that we need to be listening to everyone. We need to be hearing and legitimizing their concerns and addressing them, not silencing them. If you silence them, you're just going to make everything worse. You're going to be again, you're causing that resentment. You're creating misogyny. You're creating men who are going to physically hate women and attack them and be vocal about them, and you're going to cause additional discrimination against, and you're causing it with the other way around as well. You're making a lot of women hate men. This whole gender war is not helpful, it's not healthy, and it's destroying our society, and both sides need to take some responsibility in this. And this is why I, as a feminist, am willing to work with MIAs if they're willing to work with me, because someone has to be the mature adult here.
Right, like you cannot fight fire with fire.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. So yeah,
Anyway, that's all I had to ask, but thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on. And check out Blaise Wilson's channel at www.youtube.com/Blaise Wilson, and also check her out at the egalitarianfeminist.com, right?
Egalitarian Feminism does have its own YouTube channel as well.
Okay.
So the Blaise Wilson YouTube channel is literally, you're following me as a person, and I talk crap and I do reviews, and it's more where I can just mind dump things. Whereas if you actually want the feminist things, you want to actually do some activism, you want to keep in touch, you want to know about the petitions, you want to follow that, you want to be following the EGAFEM stuff. So you want to be doing the Egalitarian Feminism YouTube channel, the website, and the Twitter.
Thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for having me. It's been really fun. And I'll, if you want to do it again sometime.
Okay.
No problem.